Hey guys, welcome to our first video lesson of the year. And this first lesson is the first of our linear review unit. And so what we're going to be doing today is solving linear equations involving one variable. So we're going to go through these 6 examples, and whatever we don't finish in any videos, we will always finish in class. All right, so let's look. Example 1, solve each equation. Check and circle your final answer. So part A says 2x minus 5 equals 3. When we're solving equations, we want to get the variable by itself. First, we need to make sure that there is nothing that we can combine. Like if there were like terms, for instance, on one side, if there were various terms that have x's in them, we would have to combine them. That is not the case here, so we can go ahead and start solving. And we just need to get everything away from the x. And when we're solving equations, we do opposite operations. So that also means we're doing the order of operations backwards. So if we remember order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, just go left to right, and then addition and subtraction also left to right. Okay, so we're starting off 2x minus 5. We want to get the x by itself, so we are going to add 5 to both sides. And I put that line down the equal sign, so I make sure I do the same thing on both sides when I am doing opposite operations. So the negative 5 and positive 5 cancel, and I have 2x equals 3 plus 5, 8. Now I need to divide both sides by 2, and I have x equals 4. To check your work, all you have to do is plug your solution in for x in the original equation and see if it works out. So does 2 times 4 minus 5 equal 3? So that's 8 minus 5, and sure enough, 3 equals 3. So I know my solution is correct. Moving on to letter B. In this case, it's a lot like letter A. I have no like terms I combine, so I start solving. So I'm going to put my line down my equal sign. And what I need to get rid of first is this negative 8. So I'm going to add 8. And I'm left with 1/2 times x equals negative 3 plus 8 is 5. Now to get rid of this 1/2, that's 1/2 times x. Remember, to divide by a fraction, you multiply by its reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply by both sides by 2. That's the reciprocal of 1/2, because 2 times 1/2 would get us 1, so that cancels. So I just have x equals 10. Now we can check our work. Does 1/2 times 10 minus 8 give me negative 3? Well, half of 10 is 5. And sure enough, 5 minus 8 does give me negative 3. So x equals 10 is my correct solution. All right. Remember, at any point you are allowed, you can pause this video if you want to go back if you need to take more time. And please do if that is the case. Moving on to letter C. I have 4x minus 12 equals 3x plus 9 minus 6x. One thing I noticed in this one, which I have not had in any other examples, is that I have this 3x and this negative 6x on the same side of the equal sign, which means they can be combined just as is, because I'm not trying to get rid of anything. I'm just simplifying. So I'm going to keep this 4x minus 12 on the left side, and I'm going to combine that 3x and negative 6x. So 3x plus a negative 6x actually gives us a negative 3x plus 9. Okay, now I actually still have some like terms. They just happen to be on opposite sides of the equal sign. So I'm going to bring those to the same side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3x to both sides. So it goes away on the right side, but then now my x terms are on the left side. So the negative 3x and positive 3x cancel, and I just have 9 on the right. And then I combine this 4x plus 3x. That's 7x, and then I have minus 12. And now I have an equation that looks a lot like my first two. I can simply add 12 to both sides. And so I have 7x equals 9 plus 12 is 21. And then I can divide both sides by 7, and I get x equals 3. So if you were going to check this one, you'd be putting 3 in for 3 different x's. So you would be going 4 times 3 minus 12, and 3 times 3 plus 9 minus 6 times 3. So a little bit of math to be done here. 4 times 3 is 12, and then I have minus 12. And then I have 3 times 3, 9, plus 9, minus 6 times 3, which is 18. So sure enough, 12 minus 12 is 0, and then I have 9 plus 9, which is 18, but then minus 18 is 0 as well. So x equals 3 is my solution. All right, let's look at letter D. This has some parentheses. Now, parentheses always need to be taken care of if we want to solve an equation. So the easiest thing to do in this case, since I have parentheses on both sides, is to use the distributive property and distribute whatever is on the outside into the parentheses. Remember, when we distribute, we are multiplying. This says 6 times the quantity 3x minus 2. So I'm going to take 6 times 3x, and that's going to give me 18x. And I'm going to take 6 times negative 2, which gives me negative 12. Then I'm going to distribute the 5 on the right side. 5 times 3x is 15x. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. Well, now I have an equation that has x's on both sides, and I want to have them on the same side. I'm just going to subtract 15x from both sides, which will leave me with 3x minus 12 equals negative 15. And now I'll be able to add 12 to both sides. And so that gives me a positive 3x equals negative 15 plus 12 is a negative 3. And finally, dividing by 3 on both sides, I have x equals negative 1. For the sake of time, I am not going to check that answer right now. Feel free to plug it in and see if you get that and see if it's correct. Moving on to letter E, I have 3 minus the quantity 2x plus 9 equals 17. So there are parentheses here, and what this is, it's like we have 3, you can think of it as 3 plus, you're going to take negative 1 times that quantity 2x plus 9, or you can just think of it as, hey, I have to subtract everything that's inside those parentheses, so I need to distribute this subtraction sign. So that's going to change to 3 minus 2x minus 9. Now that we've gotten rid of parentheses, we want to see, are there any like terms we can combine? And yes, there are. On the left side, this positive 3 and this negative 9, they're on the same side of the equal sign, so I simply put them together as they are. So that'd be 3 minus 9 would be negative 6, and then I have minus 2x, and that equals 17. And now let's work on getting that x by itself. Let's add 6. And I'm left with negative 2x equals 23. And I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. So I have x equals a negative 23 halves, or you could say negative 11.5, or negative 11 and a half, whichever you prefer. And our last example has a couple sets of parentheses on different sides and a couple combining like terms. So with these parentheses, we always take what's outside the front and distribute. So this is going to give me 6 times negative x is going to be negative 6x. 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. Distributing my negative 4 over here, I'm going to have negative 4 times x, which is negative 4x, and negative 4 times negative 3 is a positive 12, and I still have that minus x on the end. Well, that leaves me with some like terms on the right side. I have a negative 4x and a negative x, so I need to combine those to give me a negative 5x, and then I still have the plus 12, and on the left side I have negative 6x minus 30. Okay, now I'm going to have to move some things across the equal sign. So one thing I could do is I could move the x's to the left side, which would mean I need to add 5x. And that gives me a negative 1x minus 30 equals 12. And now let's add the 30 so we can keep getting this x by itself. And I have negative 1x equals a positive 42. And we need to get rid of that negative 1, so we're going to divide by negative 1. And we get x equals negative 42. All right, everybody, we will go over any questions on this in class, and hopefully we understand solving linear equations of one variable.